Maricopa County's new budget is a done deal. $3.8 billion spending plan covers a variety of capital projects while cutting overall spending and property taxes for the fourth straight year. Joining us now is Thomas Galvin. He's the vice chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Good to see you again.
Hey, Ted, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
$3.8 billion. How much cut from the last budget?
About $500 million. In fact, the budget last year was $4.3 billion. What we've done is we cut 11% this year. We cut 3% last year. And when I go around the county talking to people about how we're gutting government, people cannot believe it because you never hear that happening, right? Government and budgets are always increasing, not getting cut. But because of our really good fiscally responsible policies, 4 straight years of property tax cuts, and making sure that we are doing the right way on spending, that's how we have a budget that's been cut by 11%.
When something gets cut, something gets cut. What got cut here?
Well, what we have found are savings and efficiency overall. We have 50 different lines of business at Maricopa County. But also one of the things that have happened since the pandemic is that counties were awash with cash from the federal government. But what Maricopa County did was really plan accordingly that we consider that to be one-time spending, and we made sure that that was not going to be budgeted for ongoing monies. And what we have seen in counties and states across the country was that they didn't plan for that. We've been very responsible, so we're rolling off a lot of the one-time spending. What we're also doing is reducing the pension obligations that we have for our corrections officers, prosecutors, and our sworn deputies, and we're at 100% fully funded now for our pension debt.
Yeah, I want to get to that pension debt here in a second, but as far as there's zero debt now with the Maricopa County budget?
That's right. We have no general obligation debt, which is, I believe, we're the largest jurisdiction in America who can make that claim.
You mentioned one-time spending as far as federal funds are concerned. Those funds obviously helped a lot and were put into play. Is that the deal? I mean, have they all been spent? Has all that money been spent, I should say, all those dollars? Where did they go? What happens now? You talk about one-time spending,
right.
Again, one-time spending. What happens after the one-time is over?
Yeah, so the money's been allocated. Much of it's been spent, not entirely spent. What we wanted to do was either do it for programs of the county that we consider to be one-time spending, let's say for a capital project that needed to be done, or also do it in a targeted way to help people around Maricopa County. So what we focused on was helping senior citizens, helping disabled veterans, and helping people who need housing challenges. And we've been able to do that. But at the same time, we made sure that we knew that the money was going to run out at some point. And so we're reducing that budget. We're planning responsibly.
Okay, what does that mean as far as budgets in the coming years?
So budgets in the coming years, as we're proud of the fact, is that with the budget of $3.8 billion, we're actually taxing Maricopa County residents at $257 million below our levy. So if you had a different board of supervisors come in tomorrow, they could raise taxes legally by $257 million. And that's part of our property tax rate cut plan that we've been doing the last 4 years, was to alleviate the pain that people are feeling right now, especially with inflation in these tough economic times. And so what we're doing is we are budgeting conservatively, when we use it with a small c, to make sure that the county does not do what is something very simple. Don't spend more than what you have.
As far as what you have, it sounds like a whole lot of this budget goes to law enforcement and these sorts of things. Explain, please.
That's right. So there are 15 counties in Arizona. Whether you're a large county like Maricopa County or a small county like Greenlee or La Paz, we all have the same role in jurisdiction. And the bulk of that is public safety. And it's very important for me that as we're reducing this overall budget, that we're still investing in what our county attorney, Rachel Mitchell, needs and what our sheriff, Russ Skinner, needs. And they need the resources to deploy their assets to fight crime, to make sure that we're prosecuting the bad guys and we're catching the bad guys. And that's what the county attorney and the sheriff does. So this is money where we're giving drone technology, body-worn cameras to our sworn deputies, and making sure that we're hiring more prosecutors in the county attorney's office.
What about budgeting for primary and general elections?
So that is a great question. To me, there's not enough money you can spend to make sure that we have really good, fair, honest elections. We are now actually, Ted, in the process of building a new election building. We need it. It's very necessary to do it. That's going to be completed in 2027, which will be in time for the next presidential election. But for this election, we have renovated our current election building to, ultimately speed up how votes are counted, but also to make sure that there's more people that can fit in there. So we have hired more temporary workers, more permanent workers, and allocated more space for the counting of votes.
Did I see $29 million as far as that was concerned? Or how much is going to election? Can you recall offhand?
I don't recall offhand. I think we're around that number.
Okay.
But you know, there's you got to spend it the right way, and you got to do it for the right reasons.
I was going to say, but is that spending it the right way, considering the county repeatedly tells us there were no problems? I mean, if there are no problems, what do we need $29 million to go for this?
Because we always have to look forward. We cannot look back. And there's always a place and a process to improve our election system. And one of the things that we're frustrated with is state law does not provide the counties more of an ability to count ballots faster. So what we have to do is take into account our procedures and figure out ways that we can do it while following the law to make sure that these ballots get counted faster. And so you're going to see a 65% increase in the number of ballots that get reported over the first 48 hours.
Interesting. As far as heat relief, seeing a lot of that as far as budgeting and municipalities concerned. What do we got here in Maricopa County?
So we have a robust human services department, and this is where Maricopa County needs to work with and collaborate with all the cities. So we've been working with cities in my district, especially Mesa. There are people who live in mobile home parks. There are people who live in RVs. They're most susceptible at this point to heat-related illnesses and, God forbid, deaths. And so we have worked with the city of Mesa, Phoenix, what have you, to make sure that these heat relief centers are getting deployed. But it's important to coordinate with them so we're not kind of stepping on each other's toes. And just 2 weeks ago, I visited a heat relief center in Mesa, and what we did was we provided water bowls and dog shoes because a lot of these families, they have dogs.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to come in off the street unless they have something to help their pets.
I want to get back to pension liabilities for retiring law enforcement employees. How's that? Are you paying it down at lower rates? How is that working?
We are increasing the employer contribution because Maricopa County is in such good financial shape. We're able to go from 88% funded to 100% funded. Many other municipalities that you'll see, even here in Arizona, are probably at 20, 30% funded. We're very proud of that fact. And by making sure that we're responsible in paying the pension debt obligations for these law enforcement officials, it actually saves us money in the long run.
Okay, last question here. Yeah. This is all worked out pretty well as far as the bottom line. Unanimous, I think
Right.
all the supervisors agreed here,
Right.
Left, right, and center. Are you prepared for a downturn?
Yes. Yeah. So when we look at this budget, it's really incumbent upon me and my 4 colleagues, the 5 of us, when we meet with our budget staff, who are terrific, is like we got to look at the pessimistic scenarios, the most optimistic scenarios, but also reasonable scenarios. And so, you've done reporting on the state budget. They ran a $1.7 billion deficit after thinking they had a surplus. We do not allow ourselves to get into that situation. We make sure we have enough in reserves. We make sure we have enough to pay for our obligations, but we also make sure we don't spend more than what we have, which has provided us the ability to cut property taxes the last 4 years.
Okay, so, and again, cutting the property taxes for 4 years and cutting the budget as well, that's your headline, isn't it?
That is our headline. We're very proud of it. The economist Jim Rounds has said that we're the most financially responsible governmental jurisdiction in the country. I say we're the most fiscally conservative large jurisdiction in the country.
Thomas Galvin, Vice Chair, Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, with the wherefores and whatnots of the budget. Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Great to see you. Thank you.